Hi, my name is Jill Pottle, and I'm a professional artist. I've been painting most of my life. I do oils and pastels, dry pastels mostly. And I went to the museum school, graduated with my MFA, and I went to Syracuse before that. And I show around New England. I've got a gallery down in Florida. And I just love what I do. This is such a great life, being an artist. And behind me, I have a lot of my paintings that I've done throughout, well, actually most of them are relatively recent. They're probably within the past 2 years. I'm running out of room for all my work because it's all over the place. And I go from really large, actually I've got even larger paintings, to little mini ones. And the mini ones are going to be fun because I'm going to put them in a big group and do a lot of them. When you do still life, you get to really study, and get to be more specific with your work. So today I'm going to do a demonstration on a teacup. And I picked the teacup because it's a pretty straightforward object and shape. Nice ellipses, even though you can get a little wacky with ellipses. But it's really a wonderful, straightforward subject matter to paint and to learn by. So, and a good way to start that as well as doing a pair. So that's what we're going to start with today. So, this is a start of a painting, and I am starting with a charcoal sketch on a surface painted with acrylic paint because I like to have color underneath my paintings. And it's just a good way of setting up a painting because you end up with a nice build of oil on top of acrylic, which gives you a nice sense of dimension and layering of paint and richness of color and texture. So that's why I start this way. Now I'm going to mix my oil colors and start painting on the surface and start to build up the painting. And sometimes I'll put on literal color, and sometimes I'll put on complementary colors, and I'm just going to go to town. So, and I need to replenish my palette a little bit. So, to put out a little bit more paint to make sure I have enough for mixing. You can never have enough paint out and ready to go. Sometimes I go to my lights, sometimes I go to my darks. The thing I definitely do is I definitely put in my lightest lights, my brightest brights, to try to get some real pop in here. So I just start making relationships in here, and it's really all about how the pieces come together. It's about the whole. So I'm not going to fill in any one area. I'm just going to put ideas on here to get something going, just to get some feel of what I want to have happen in here. So, and I want to keep wiping out the brush to make sure my paint is nice and clean. And I've got all different size brushes that I'm using. The greatest thing about picking a really simple subject matter is that once you know the drawing, you don't have to worry so much about the drawing. It's more about the color, it's more about the relationships, it's more about making the marks with the paint, with the brush stroke. You know, it's really coming in there and deciding how things relate rather than drawing them. When my brushes get dirty, I just change brushes. I just grab a new brush. If I end up with something that I really don't like in here, I'll just take my palette knife and scratch it off. So, you know, but I love getting the paint really thick because then you can really push the stuff around and get some nice surface on there. Just not interesting to be predictable. So, you know. I also don't hold the paintbrush like a pencil. You want to hold it like a paintbrush, like a very versatile tool so you can get the paint off the brush and move it around the surface. So I gotta just keep building this and figure out what else I need in here, and I gotta just keep paying attention to the relationships that I'm building on here and make sure that I like them and get them laid in there accordingly. I'm going to reshape. My ellipses always get a little lumpy and a little out of whack and stuff, and I don't really worry about it. You know, you can be really fussy about it. Sometimes when they're a little out of whack, they actually look better than if they're perfectly rendered because they have a little more attitude, a little more feel, a little more gesture to them. But I don't want them to be too out of control here. So I'm going to get a little more shape to that. And a little more shape. There's a lovely reflection of the spoon coming into the cup here that's quite amazing that I want to be sure to pick up on as well. Spoons are tough because they're in space and it has kind of an odd shape, so I'll probably be coming back to that one quite a few times to try to figure it out because I'm not quite there yet with that spoon. So everybody says, how do you make a line? You make a line by virtue of painting around it. So if I'm going to make that into a line, I got to really wipe out my brush, grab more white, and I've got kind of like this beigey thing, and I got to paint around this form a little bit to get this to show up inside of there. Now, there's probably no way I could ever finish a painting totally in one sitting because you would want some layers to dry and stuff, but I get a good start. Paintings come out of good process, not out of the final thing. You really want to think of the process as being the most critical part in this. And yeah, I do waste a ton of paint because you gotta in order to make the changes needed to make the painting work better. If you're worried about wasting any paint, you kind of lose your sense of what you need to do to make a successful painting. Again, process is the thing that makes the painting work. And I never know what I'm going to do till I get there. So it's like, yeah, I need to quiet down that shadow. That shadow gets a little lighter in here. And I really, with my brushes, I'm really moving them around the surface and really feeling the paint coming off of them. I'm really paying attention to how the paint feels on the brush and how it's shaping my objects that are on here. I am getting to the point where I want to take a little bit of a break, because if you keep painting on a surface without standing back or taking time to reflect on what you've done, you tend to destroy what you've created. So I'm just going to do a few more brush marks on here just to kind of almost like reminders of what I'm going to do later. I don't necessarily like the painting to be bone dry when I go back into it, but I don't mind when the paint is a little more firmed up, so when I go back into it, I can build on top of it. Because like I say, you know, if I have some nice things going on in here and I don't see them right away, I'll tend to destroy what I've created. So it might be the time that I want to just stop with this painting and reflect on it and sit back and look at it for a while and see what my next moves are going to be.